Mr. Patel stepped out of his black sedan and paused before the grand front doors of his home. The evening air was warm, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden outside. He had just returned from a week-long business trip, and in his mind he pictured the house silent and still. His mind was full of meeting summaries and spreadsheets. He carried a small leather bag in one hand and a suitcase in the other. The driveway lights cast a soft glow on the polished stone. He imagined nothing but quiet rooms and empty corridors. He unlocked the door with a soft click and pushed it open. The foyer stretched before him, its high ceiling decorated with a crystal chandelier. A polished marble floor reflected the light. On one side, a tall vase held white orchids. Mr. Patel dropped his bag by the coat rack and tugged off his tie. He expected to hear only the distant hum of the refrigerator. He glanced around, spotting family photos on a side table, images of Maya smiling in her school uniform and Angela standing beside her, both faces bright and happy. A low sound reached his ears. At first he thought it was the air conditioner. Then he recognized soft laughter. Laughter was light and musical like a bell. It did not belong to any adult voice he knew. He frowned and turned toward the long hallway that led to the family rooms. The sound came again, gentle, playful, a child's laughter but with a tone of surprise, as if the child was talking to someone unexpected. Mr. Patel's heart quickened. Maya was 8 years old. She was usually in bed by 8. He checked his watch. It was 9:30. He set down his suitcase and took careful steps down the hallway. Portraits of his grandparents and his own wedding lined the walls. He paused at each one for a moment, as if looking for a sign that all was well. He reached the archway that opened into the living room and dining area. The laughter grew louder. He looked left toward the kitchen lights off, and to the right, where a door stood slightly ajar. He moved toward that door. In the darkened living room, shadows danced on the walls from the streetlights outside. His footsteps were soft on the rug. Pushing the door gently, he entered the playroom. The ceiling light was on, casting a warm glow. The walls were painted a calming sky blue. Shelves lined one side, filled with toys, puzzles, and books. A small, round table held a jigsaw puzzle in progress. On the floor, scattered colored pencils and a half-finished drawing of a fairy castle lay on a sheet of paper. Mr. Patel could see Maya's little chair pulled in close to the table. Yet the laughter came from the other side of the room. He paused just inside the threshold, careful not to announce his presence too strongly. Maya sat on a plush rug, her legs folded under her. She wore pink pajamas with small stars. Her dark hair was tied in 2 neat braids. She held a row of illustrated cards in her small hands cards, with pictures of animals, fruits, and simple words. Maya's lips moved, forming words that he could not hear clearly. Her eyes shone with excitement, and she looked toward an empty spot on the rug, her face full of expression. Mr. Patel blinked. He expected to see Angela, the maid, standing behind his daughter, but there was no one else in the room. He scanned the corners, and then the door behind him. Just Maya, holding the cards and talking to thin air. He frowned in confusion. Why was his daughter talking alone? His heart gave a small leap of worry. Perhaps she had thought she saw an imaginary friend. Yeah, I was creative, but never talked alone. In the houses, especially not at this hour, he took a step forward, his polished shoes silent on the rug. He moved closer and knelt down a few feet from her. Maya looked up, surprised for an instant, then continued her animated speech. She pointed at a card showing a red apple. She made a gesture with her fingers, as if drawing a shape in the air. She nodded, and her fingers fluttered again. She looked toward the empty spot at the edge of the rug and laughed. The soft laughter echoed in the small room, making Mr. Patel's heart tug with both warmth and concern. He realized then that Maya was using sign language. Her small hands moved in a smooth flow of signs that he could not understand. He knew she had learned a few simple signs after her illness last year, but he had assumed she was not yet fluent. He rose slowly to his feet, careful not to disturb her play. He watched her draw the next card from the stack. It was a picture of a green frog. She held it up and made another sign. Then she smiled as if she had heard a reply. The empty space seemed to fill with something unseen. Mr. Patel pressed his palm to his chest, feeling his heartbeat pound. He pressed one hand against a shelf, steadying himself. He had left his daughter with Angela, who had been with their family for 5 years. They trusted her fiercely. But now, the sight of Maya talking alone on the rug unsettled him. He cleared his throat softly. Maya paused and looked up, eyes wide. Her lips curved into a shy grin. She slid the cards onto the rug and patted the empty space beside her. She signed again, faster this time. Mr. Patel leaned forward, his curiosity overcoming his caution. He knelt beside her and whispered Maya. His voice was gentle. She turned fully, meeting his gaze. He waited. She smiled and made a sign. Then she made another sign. Mr. Patel frowned, confused. He wanted to hear her voice, to know what she was saying. The laughter had stopped, but she continued to move her hands. He heard the soft rustle of her pajamas as she shifted on the rug. She looked to the side and then back at him, her eyes bright with a secret. For a moment, Mr. Patel felt a lump in his throat. He remembered the day Maya fell ill, her small body trembling with fever, her speech slurred. The doctors had said she would take months to recover her strength. He had spent nights by her bedside, holding her hand, praying she would wake and smile. When she did recover the next month, her first word was his name. He had never known such relief. And now, here she was, speaking in a silent language he did not fully grasp. Laughing, as if sharing a private joke with someone he could not see, he rose slowly, heart full of questions. He straightened his shirt and walked quietly out of the playroom. He closed the door softly behind him, leaving Maya to her unseen friend. In the hallway, he leaned against the cool wall, folding his arms. His mind raced. Why was Angela not in the room? He had heard her humming earlier in the evening as she worked in the kitchen. She must be nearby. He shook his head and turned back toward the playroom door, determined to find Angela and understand what was happening. But before he could step forward again, a soft click came from the door behind him. He turned, expecting Angela to appear. Instead, he saw only the empty hallway, lit by a single wall sconce. The echo of Maya's laughter had faded. He took a deep breath and squared his shoulders. He would find Angela. He would learn why his daughter had been talking alone. He would understand this mystery before it grew into something more troubling. With that thought, he moved forward once more, ready to solve whatever surprise waited just beyond the playroom door. Mr. Patel stood just outside the playroom door, his heart still racing from what he had seen. He leaned forward, pressing his palm to the cool wood, and peered inside once more. The warm light from the overhead lamp fell softly across the floor, making gentle pools of brightness on the pale rug. Maya sat at the far end of the room, her small frame nestled between the shelves and the low table. She held a row of colorful, illustrated cards in her lap. Mr. Patel felt his breath catch as he noticed another figure moving behind his daughter, Angela. The maid who had cared for Maya since she was a baby knelt on one knee behind the child. Her dark eyes were calm and focused, her posture relaxed yet attentive. She reached one hand forward, guiding Maya's tiny fingers as they traced shapes on the card with care. The gestures were fluid and deliberate, each movement smooth and precise. Maya's lips curved in a shy smile as she followed Angela's gentle guidance. She looked up at the card, then back at Angela, her eyes shining with a new confidence that had not been there before. Mr. Patel's chest tightened. He pressed his free hand to the doorframe, steadying himself. He remembered how Angela had helped them through difficult times when Maya had fallen sick with that high fever last winter, and when the doctor had said she might lose her words forever. Angela had stayed by his daughter's side, humming lullabies in a soft voice until Maya drifted into sleep. Mr. Patel had always been grateful, but he had never truly understood the depth of Angela's care until this moment. He stepped forward, trying not to let his shoes squeak on the polished floor. Maya and Angela did not notice him at first. Angela's hand moved with patience, signing a simple word, friend, and Maya's tiny hand answered in return. A secret dance between them. Mr. Patel felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. He had assumed Maya still struggled to communicate, But here she was, signing complete sentences. Guided by Angela's steady hand, he closed the door softly behind him and approached every step careful. The air smelled faintly of lavender from the soap Angela used. He felt a lump in his throat. As Maya looked up, her eyes bright and curious. Angela turned her head and smiled, as calm and kind as ever. She patted the rug beside Maya, inviting Mr. Patel to join them. He hesitated for a moment, then knelt in front of his daughter. Setting aside the worries he had carried from his trip, Maya held up a card showing a bright yellow sun. She signed a greeting, her fingers dancing through the air. Mr. Patel watched, mesmerized, the shapes Angela had taught him last month. "Hello, thank you, love," flashed through his mind. He held up his hand and signed hello, matching Maya's movements as best he could. Maya's face lit up and she giggled, covering her mouth with one small hand. Angela's eyes shone with pride at Maya's progress. Mr. Patel closed his eyes briefly, grateful for this moment. He reached over and touched Maya's shoulder gently. She looked at him with a mixture of amazement and joy. He signed slowly, "I am proud." Maya's eyes widened, and she signed back, "I love you, Papa." Mr. Patel's chest swelled with emotion. He had never known a love so pure as the love he felt for his daughter in that moment. Angela gathered the cards and placed them neatly in a stack. Then she reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small booklet, its cover worn from frequent use. She opened it to a dog-eared page filled with pen-and-ink illustrations of hands in various positions. She used her finger to trace one of the drawings, then guided Maya's fingers to copy the shape. Maya looked intently at the picture, then at Angela's hand, and then back at her own. She nodded, then moved her hand in the same sign. Mr. Patel watched the tableau, feeling both humbled and amazed. He realized that Angela had taken time away from her own rest to learn sign language. She had done it secretly, in late evenings, after the household was asleep. He thought of the long hours she spent caring for groceries, cleaning floors, and tucking Maya into bed. All this time, she had shouldered her work and still found energy to study a new skill, just to help his daughter. He spoke softly. "Angela, when did you learn this?" Angela paused, her gentle smile never wavering. She signed a response with her left hand, pointing to her heart first, then to her temple, stared and finally to Maya's hands. Mr. Patel realized she was saying she had studied with love and with her mind, pouring her heart and thought into each lesson. He knelt lower so he could read her lips clearly. "Wanted to help Maya find her voice," she said. "She was sad when she could not speak well. I could not bear that." The tears brimmed in Mr. Patel's eyes. He felt ashamed that he had not noticed Angela's late-night studies, or the careful notebooks she kept hidden in her quarters. He felt grateful beyond words. Maya reached out and took Angela's hand, then signed, "Thank you." She looked at Mr. Patel and signed again, "She helped me speak." Mr. Patel hugged Maya close, brushing a stray braid behind her ear. Signed back to Maya, "You are brave." He then turned to Angela, his hands trembling slightly as he signed, "Thank you, Angela." Angela nodded, her eyes shining. She used one hand to sign family, placing the tip of her thumb against her chest. Mr. Patel understood. Angela considered Maya and him to be family. He felt warmth flood through him. Oh. In that moment, the grand house, the marble floors, the expensive portraits, all of it seemed less important than the simple exchange of thanks and love. For a long minute, the three of them sat on the rug, hands speaking words of gratitude and care. The clock on the wall ticked softly, but no, one moved. All the world outside, the fame, the fortune, the constant demands fell away. All that mattered was the bond they shared here, in this quiet room, where a caring maid had taught herself a new language so that a little girl could speak her truth. Finally, Mr. Patel rose to his feet, holding both Maya's and Angela's hands. He looked at Angela and said with deep sincerity, "You have done more for Maya than I ever could. Tomorrow, we will make sure you have the chance to learn more, to grow this gift." Angela signed back with a humble gesture of her open palms. Maya clapped her hands in delight, then signed a single word, "Happy." Mr. Patel smiled, his heart full. He realized that this surprise, unannounced arrival had brought him a priceless gift, the love and devotion of a woman he called Maid, who had become family. Morning light crept into the bedroom through thin curtains, painting soft stripes on the floor. Mr. Patel sat up on the edge of his bed, feeling both excitement and a gentle calm in his chest. He thought back to the scholarship he had granted Angela, and to his promise to support her studies. He dressed quickly in a simple shirt and trousers, his mind brimming with plans for the day. As he walked down the hallway, he listened to the faint sound of Maya's laughter coming from the playroom. He smiled, knowing that every morning from now on held new possibilities for his daughter in the dining room. The family gathered around the table. Mrs. Patel placed warm toast and fresh fruit before Maya and Angela. Maya beamed as she signed "Good morning," her small hands moving with grace. Mrs. Patel watched in wonder, then reached across the table to squeeze Mr. Patel's hand. He signed to Maya, "I am proud," and she signed back, "I learn more." Angela poured tea for Mrs. Patel and coffee for Mr. Patel, her movements careful and kind. The simple meal felt like a celebration, a mark of how much had changed in just a few days. After breakfast, Mr. Patel made his way to his home office. He sat at his large wooden desk and unfolded a clean sheet of paper. He wrote the guidelines for the new scholarship fund, clear steps for application, criteria for support, and contact details for staff to reach out. He opened his laptop and drafted an email to the board members, explaining how investing in people's education could strengthen loyalty and skill across the company. He paused, thinking of Angela studying late at night, and added a personal note. May we all learn from her example. He clicked send and felt a surge of satisfaction. A short drive later, Mr. Patel arrived at the company headquarters. The tall glass building gleamed under the midday sun. He entered the boardroom, where colleagues sat around a long table. The room fell silent as he took his place at the head. He began by sharing Maya's progress and Angela's self-taught sign language. He described the joy in Maya's eyes and the quiet strength in Angela's determination. He then presented the scholarship plan with details on funding, courses, and support for staff. The board members studied the proposal and exchanged thoughtful glances. Finally, one member nodded and said, "This will honor our values." Another added, "We can announce this at the next company gathering." The decision was unanimous. With the board's approval, Mr. Patel made a quick call to the local adult education center. He spoke to the program coordinator, Ms. Rowe, whose friendly voice greeted him warmly, explained Angela's story and his desire to enroll her immediately. Ms. Rowe arranged for Angela to join the evening sign language class starting that week. She also invited Angela to a welcome session at the center on Monday morning. Mr. Patel thanked her and promised to send payment for tuition as soon as possible. As he hung up, he pictured Angela walking into the center with hope in her heart. That evening, Angela arrived at the Adult Education Center for the first time. The building smelled of fresh paint and polished floors. She entered a bright classroom, where a small group of students sat in a circle of chairs. The teacher, a gentle woman named Mrs. Khan, welcomed Angela and helped her find a seat next to a young father learning to communicate with his own child. Angela introduced herself by signing hello, and the father greeted her back with a shy smile. Angela felt warmth in her chest. She opened her notebook, ready to learn more signs and to practice every day. Back at the Patel home, Maya heard Angela's key in the lock and raced to the door. She threw it open and hugged Angela tightly. "Tell me what you learned." Signed, her eyes bright. Angela laughed softly and sat on the floor, pulling Maya onto her lap. She taught Maya the new signs for school, teacher, and learn. Maya copied each sign carefully, her small fingers curling just like Angela's. The teacher at the center had emphasized practice at home. Angela made sure that Maya joined in. Their bond felt even stronger as they learned side by side. Next day, Mr. Patel visited Maya's school for a scheduled parent-teacher meeting. He wanted to share Maya's new skills with her teacher, Mrs. Ahmed, who greeted him with a broad smile. In her tidy classroom, brightly painted with alphabets and drawings, Maya stood and signed hello, teacher, without hesitation. Mrs. Ahmed's eyes widened with delight. She told Mr. Patel that Maya's confidence had grown and that she was more willing to participate in class. They discussed how the school could incorporate simple sign language into daily lessons to help all children learn empathy and communication. On Saturday, the Patel family attended a community event at the local library celebrating International Sign Language Week. Stalls lined the hall, each with games and activities for families. There was a story corner, where volunteers read picture books using signs. There was also a board where people could pin notes of thanks in sign language drawings. Mr. Patel and Maya signed their own message of gratitude, and Angela placed a neatly drawn handshape next to theirs. Neighbors and friends watched and applauded. When they saw the family communicating in both speech and sign, the event filled their hearts with joy and hope. News of the scholarship program spread quietly through the company newsletter. In an article titled "Investing in People," Mr. Patel wrote about Angela, calling her a model of dedication. Colleagues who read the newsletter came forward to congratulate Angela and to ask how they could apply for the scholarship themselves. Angela felt shy but proud. She signed to a coworker, "Thank you for believing." Her supervisor offered to cover her shift so she could attend more classes. The company's small gesture had blossomed into a culture of learning and support. That Sunday evening, the family gathered for a simple dinner of rice, lentils, and vegetables. Mrs. Patel lit candles at the center of the table. They shared stories of their week, Maya's new signs, Angela's first class, and the board's unanimous support. After the meal, Mr. Patel pulled out a small recorder and showed Maya her first signed poem, recorded in Angela's careful handwriting. Maya giggled as she reread the words and practiced signing them aloud. Mrs. Patel watched with tears in her eyes, feeling grateful for the love that now filled their home. Later, Mr. Patel stepped onto the balcony and looked out at the city lights. He held in his pocket the photograph Maya had drawn of the three of them in Jula. Maya and himself holding hands beneath a bright sun. He thought about how far they had come since that late night when he first saw Angela teaching Maya in the playroom. A new chapter had begun, one of learning, respect, and shared growth. He closed his eyes and whispered thanks to the quiet night air. He went back inside and knelt beside Maya's bed as she drifted to sleep. He signed, "You are brave," and she mumbled in her sleep, hands fluttering in a gentle dream. He kissed her forehead and turned to Angela's room. He slipped into the door and saw her studying by lamplight, tracing signs in her notebook. He signed softly, "Good night." She looked up with a tired smile and signed back, "I keep learning." Mr. Patel closed the door and walked down the hall, heart full. He knew that this journey of kindness and education would continue to shape their lives in ways he had never imagined. Morning light shone through the tall windows of the playroom as Maya and Angela sat side by side. Today was special. Maya had invited her friend Sarah over to learn some sign language. Sarah's mother worked in a nearby store, and Sarah was curious about the cards she had seen. Maya's small hands moved confidently as she showed Sarah how to sign friend, play, and thank you. Angela watched proudly as Maya guided her friend through each sign. When Sarah signed back correctly, Maya clapped her hands and giggled. Sarah's eyes lit up, and Angela joined in the applause. The two girls spent the morning laughing and learning together as the sunlight danced across the toys on the shelves. At the dining table, Mr. Patel stood and cleared his throat. He had called a family meeting. Mrs. Patel and Maya moved there. Plates aside, and Angela paused her chores to listen. Mr. Patel had exciting news. The scholarship program was growing. More staff had applied to learn new skills. He had approved extra funds so that everyone who qualified could attend classes. Angela felt her heart swell. She signed to Maya, "We help many." Maya beamed and signed back, "I am happy." Mrs. Patel reached out to squeeze Angela's hand. The simple breakfast felt like a celebration of kindness and community. Later that day, at the company headquarters, Mr. Patel led a workshop on inclusion and teamwork. He invited Angela and another maid, Samuel, to join him on stage. The boardroom was full of employees from every department. Mr. Patel told the story of Angela's late-night study and Maya's new confidence. Then He introduced Angela, who stood and signed hello to the audience. Though some staff had never seen sign language, they watched with respect as Angela guided Samuel through a few basic signs. "Thank you, good work, and team." Samuel repeated each sign, his face shining with discovery. The audience clapped as Angela closed with a sign for hope. The workshop ended with applause and a round of questions. Many employees asked how they could join the scholarship program or learn sign themselves. Back at home, Angela found a letter on her bed from the education center. She opened it carefully. It was an invitation to a special ceremony, the launch of a new sign language program for adults. She read the words, then looked up to see Maya standing in the doorway. Maya signed, "Congratulations." "Ah!" Angela knelt and hugged Maya, tears in her eyes. She could not believe how much had changed in just a few weeks. She folded the letter and placed it in her apron pocket, determined to study harder than ever. That weekend, the Patel family took a trip to the local park. They spread a blanket under a large oak tree. Mrs. Patel unpacked sandwiches and fruit. While Mr. Patel arranged their picnic, Maya and Sarah chased each other on the grass, signing run and stop as they played. Angela sat nearby reading her sign language textbook. A group of neighbors walked by and saw the family signing to one another. Intrigued, they paused and asked questions. Maya ran back with a pile of illustrated cards and taught the neighbors the sign for hello and thank you. Soon, a small crowd gathered on the grass, signing simple words under the shade of the oak. Laughter and curiosity filled the AIR. Mr. Patel watched, proud of the ripple of learning spreading through the community. On Monday morning, Angela arrived at the Adult Education Center for her first ceremony. The hall was decorated with blue and green banners that read Sign Language Launch. Angela found her name on a list of new students displayed on a board. She walked onto the stage to receive a certificate and a welcome gift, a notebook and a set of colored pens. Mrs. Khan, the teacher, shook Angela's hand and said, "We are so happy to have you." Angela signed back, "Thank you." She felt a rush of pride as the audience clapped. She returned to her seat, beaming. Maya had drawn a small flower on a card and taped it to Angela's desk. It said, "You are brave." Angela placed it. Inside her notebook, a reminder of how far she had come. That afternoon, Mr. Patel held a press conference in the company lobby. Reporters from local newspapers and TV stations gathered to hear about the scholarship program. Mr. Patel spoke about the importance of investing in people. He shared Maya's story and Angela's efforts. He announced that the company would partner with the Education Center to offer free sign language classes for all interested staff. A TV camera zoomed in as Angela signed "Thank you" behind him. The reporters asked questions, and Mr. Patel smiled as he saw Angela's quiet confidence on screen. Later, he would hear that the story appeared on the evening news, inspiring other businesses to start similar programs. That same week, Maya's school invited her to teach a short lesson in her class. At first, Maya felt shy. She stood in front of her classmates, cards in her hand. Angela had given her tips on teaching. Maya held up the card with a smiling face and signed happy. Then she showed the class the sign. Slowly, one by one, her classmates copied the movement. Got it right. Maya's small hands flew up in excitement. The teacher praised Maya for her courage and suggested they include sign language words in their daily routine, like saying hello with a wave and a sign. Maya sat down, glowing with pride. In the evenings, Angela studied hard. New signs in her room, speaking them aloud to remember each shape. Maya often peeked in, handing her a card or leaving a small snack by her side. Mrs. Patel sometimes joined, learning alongside Angela. The kitchen table became a study hall. Mr. Patel would bring tea and sit with them, asking questions and trying out each new sign. Their home felt lively with learning, a place where each person helped the other grow. One afternoon, Angela received an email from a distant cousin living in another city. He had heard about her scholarship and asked for advice on how to apply. Angela wrote back with encouragement and links to the application form. She signed the email off with "Good luck." Her cousin replied with thanks and said he was proud of her. Angela felt a warm glow of connection, knowing that her small steps of learning could help her family far from the grand house where she worked. The next board meeting, Mr. Patel presented the program's first results. He showed photos of Maya, teaching Sarah of Angela on stage at the ceremony, and of staff learning signs in the boardroom workshop. He reported that 20 employees had already enrolled, and more were signing up each day. The board applauded, calling the program a success. They agreed to expand the budget for next year and to invite experts to teach other languages and skills based on staff interest. Back home that night, the family gathered around the fireplace. Mrs. Patel served hot chocolate and cookies, snuggled between her parents, and Angela sat on a cushion at their feet. Mr. Patel raised his cup and made a toast to learning, to kindness, and to the power of small actions. Maya signed cheers, and Angela echoed the sign. They sipped their drinks and smiled at one another. The flicker of the firelight made their shadows dance on the walls, as if celebrating with them. Later, as the house grew quiet, Mr. Patel walked the hall to check on Angela. He found her door slightly open and peeked inside. She was asleep at her desk, head resting on her arms, the textbook open. He gently closed the book and placed a soft blanket over her shoulders. He whispered, "Rest well." He left the room, quietly, heart full of gratitude. He knew that Angela's kindness had changed his family forever. In that moment, he understood that true wealth came not from his billions, but from the generosity and care that bound them all together. The sun was setting slowly behind the hills, casting a warm orange glow across the city. Inside the Patel home, the family gathered in the living room for a quiet evening together. Mr. Patel sat on the sofa with Maya and Angela nearby, all of them smiling softly as the day came to a close. The house felt peaceful and full of love, a place where kindness had built new bridges and opened hearts. Mr. Patel thought back to the night when he first returned home unannounced and saw Angela teaching Maya sign language. He remembered the surprise, the curiosity, and then the deep respect that had grown inside him. It amazed him how one simple act of care had changed his daughter's world and brought their family closer. The walls that had once seemed grand and empty now felt warm and welcoming because of the bond they shared. Angela reached for a small loose box on the coffee table and handed it to Maya. It was a gift from the Education Centra book filled with stories, written in both words and signs. Maya's eyes sparkled as she flipped through the pages, tracing the pictures and practicing the signs carefully. She turned to Angela and signed, "Thank you for teaching me." Angela smiled and signed back, "You taught me too, Mr. Patel." Watched this exchange with pride, knowing that the learning was a two-way street and that everyone had grown stronger together. The evening meal was simple, but full of joy. Mrs. Patel served homemade bread and vegetable stew. The family ate together, sharing stories of their day. Maya signed about her school friends and how she was teaching them new words. Angela talked about her classes and the new signs she had learned. Mr. Patel spoke of the company's success. With the scholarship program and how many staff members had joined, each person listened closely and nodded with encouragement. Later, as the night deepened, Mr. Patel invited Angela to join him in his study. He wanted to thank her once again, this time in a more private way. The study was quiet and filled with the soft ticking of a clock. Mr. Patel handed Angela an envelope. Inside was a letter of recommendation for a teaching assistant position at the Education Center. He had spoken to Mrs. Khan, the teacher, who agreed that Angela's dedication and kindness made her perfect for the role. Angela's eyes filled with tears. She signed, "Thank you, sir. I will work hard." Mr. Patel smiled warmly and replied, "I know you will." Back in the playroom, Maya prepared for bed. She carefully arranged her cards and practiced new signs in front of a small mirror. She signed "Good night" and "I love you" to her reflection. Angela tucked her in, smoothing the blanket and brushing a loose braid behind her ear. Maya's last words before sleep were a quiet thank you, signed with all the love a small child could give. Angela kissed her forehead and whispered, "Sweet dreams." The next morning, the house was filled with laughter and light. Maya and Angela worked on a project to create a picture dictionary of signs. They gathered crayons, paper, and glue, and spread their work across the table. Mr. Patel and Mrs. Patel watched with joy as the two created colorful pages filled with images and words. They planned to share the dictionary with Maya's school and the education center, hoping it would help many others learn the beauty of communication beyond speech. One afternoon, the family hosted a small gathering of neighbors and friends. The living room buzzed with excitement as people learned basic signs from Angela and Maya. There were games, songs, and plenty of smiles. Mr. Patel gave a short speech about the power of learning and kindness. He encouraged everyone to support programs that help people grow and connect. The room echoed with applause and promises to continue the work. As weeks passed, Angela's role at the education center grew. She helped new students learn signs and shared her story as inspiration. Maya's confidence blossomed, and her school began offering sign language as part of their curriculum. Mr. Patel continued to support the scholarship program and looked for new ways to help the community. The family's journey of learning and love touched many lives and created a ripple effect of kindness that spread far beyond their home. One quiet evening, Mr. Patel sat alone on the porch. The stars twinkled overhead, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine. He thought about how much had changed in a short time. He felt grateful for Angela's courage and dedication, for Maya's bright spirit, and for the family they had become, he whispered, a promise to always cherish and protect the love that had grown from a simple act of kindness. Inside, the house was still. Angela sat by the window, reading a book on advanced sign language. Maya slept soundly in her bed, dreaming of new words and friends. Mr. Patel smiled, knowing that their story was just beginning. The night held endless possibilities, and the family was ready to face each new day together, united by love, learning, and hope.